Okay, the quadrangle was at the old Atlanta University, which is Clark Atlanta University now, and it was like the meeting place for getting started. But what they did at the quadrangle, I was a student at Morris Brown. They marched from the quadrangle to Morris Brown, so I was not really at the quadrangle. I was at Morris Brown waiting on the bridge. And when you got to the bridge, it was a decisive point to where you decided that you were either going to be able to go all the way through, or you could support them from the quadrangle to the bridge. And if for some reason your family said no, or whatever your reason was, you had to turn around at that point. If you were going to go all the way, then you did at the bridge at Morris Brown. So I was never really coming from the quadrangle to Morris Brown. I always met them at Morris Brown.
And Rushmore Room, I understand Reverend Boone was just a staunch supporter of
Reverend Boone was, and like I say, I went to school at Rush Memorial my early years because when I was in school they didn't have kindergarten, so I had to go to Rush Memorial. But I was not at any of the meetings there. The group that I met with mostly had their meetings at Tabernacle Baptist Church, where Reverend Henry Dorsey was pastor. And we kind of met there and went on, because even though it was SNCC, there were like different locations, and you have to realize that we didn't have automobiles back then. So we kind of went that way, that route.
Anything else you want to talk about as far as the impact of the Atlanta student movement and SNCC and the city too busy to hate?
Well, we don't want to talk about the city that's too busy to hate because there were a lot of hating going on in this city. I think the main thing with the city so-called power structure is they were kind of afraid that if too many blacks were elected or too many blacks got position, their thing was going to go. They were not going to be the people that's it, we were not going to be, they were not going to be in control. But I think the thing that happened was you had a lot of people who still wanted to do it decent and in order, so to speak. So you had a lot of blacks who were eventually called Uncle Tom or whatever, because their goal was to work with the structure that was in place, whereas we were younger and we were ready to do some stuff. And when Stokely Carmichael came along and said, he was tired, let's forget about the nonviolence, if you got to kill some folks, let's go do this and do whatever. And a lot of us were really ready to buy into this. So we kind of needed our elders to try to keep us focused, because, we were ready to burn this city down. I mean, seriously. I had just been spit on too many times. I had been called nigger too many times. And I was reaching that point where I was not going to be nonviolent anymore. If you're going to hit me one more time, I'm going to hit you back. Or if you're going to spit in my face one more time, I'm going to spit back on you. And never will forget when we did a demonstration when we were going to, it was called First Baptist Church. Reverend Stanley weren't the pastor then, Roy McLean was pastor. And we were going to go to church, and they threw us down these steps, I mean, it was like 40 steps. And they threw us down these steps. And there was this one guy who pushed me down the step. I broke my wrist. And to this day, I know what he looks like. And that's one of those things where I'm not going to be nonviolent. But for that reason, I have never been inside the church because I'm afraid I'll go in there and see him and hurt him. It's just that simple. If I see him, I'm going to hurt him. So you have your good memories and your bad memories. Like I said, if I had to do it over again, I would. I was not doing it for name recognition or to be in the history books. I was doing it because I felt like it was my duty to make life in Atlanta better for my peers, for generations that had to come under me. I see now our regression, so to speak. I ride the bus, I ride the modern transportation, and I get so disgusted with these young people on MARTA, and I want to tell them sometimes, you know what, I went to jail so you could have this opportunity. But by the same token, I used the 5-point station. The people that MARTA have working in that facility can be some of the nastiest people in the world. They're either really, really nasty or really, really nice. And I keep thinking, I went to jail so you can have this position. Why can't you be decent? You don't have to be different to me, but the masses. So sometimes I wonder, did we do your generation a disservice by not really teaching you what we went through so that you can appreciate it? And you'd be surprised at the young people who don't have a clue about what they have or how they acquired it. So that's my main thing, is that if we can do anything to let the young people know how they reached the point to where they are now, so that they can be more cognizant of the fact that, it didn't come easy. And that would be my goal in life, is for that to happen.
Tell us about your experience going to jail. How did you feel? How did your family feel? How you were treated in jail?
Okay, I only went to jail in Atlanta, which was a good thing. I've heard some bad experiences about people who went to jail, even in DeKalb County. In Atlanta, it was fine. And during the times that I was there, it would be so many people there that half of the time, it would be like in one cell, you have 25, 30 people. So, you were not going to be there long. There was no way you could be there long. And we were treated decent in Atlanta, but like I say, I've heard some real serious tales from people who were in jail in other places. My family was divided. My mother worked for Bobby Jones, the golfer, and she was kind of wondering about her job. And this is the guy who was paying for all of her kids to get an education. So, but he actually made the statement to her that, if you need for me to do something, just let me know, I'll go do it. So that kind of quieted her down. My grandmama, who was probably born 100 years before her time, was all for it, like, baby, if this is what you got to do, go do it. So it was like that kind of division. But I didn't really have bad experiences in jail. It was like almost a party. We were there. I knew why I was there. I was there for a reason, and I wanted to accomplish that reason. And a lot of times you went to jail where you would have had a whole group of people going to jail today that's getting out tomorrow. And they needed somebody to fill the jails up as soon as they got out. So, you would go to be there so that once they got out, you could go in. Because the people in the jails needed to know, we're not playing. This thing is for real. So I didn't have any problems, bad problems. I didn't have any horror stories about jail. But there were people who did have a bunch of horror stories.
And the movement lawyers? I know you didn't know them personally, but
Right, you didn't know them personally. I met them. And you don't meet them. You know who they are. You know when they're going to come in. They're going to come in, and you go to the little hearing that was almost